Over the last 48 hours, I've seen a lot of people calling for a crypto cycle top. So in today's video, I want to talk about the probabilities of the potential that we've topped this cycle, give you my opinion as to where I think the market sits and what I'm doing with my portfolio. At the moment, I'm making some portfolio changes to make sure that I am protected and maximize the next couple of months in crypto. So if you're feeling lost in the market right now, if you feel like you don't have a strategy heading into the rest of Q1, and if you're just a little bit confused, I think today's video is going to help you a lot because there is a lot of noise on the timeline. And really, during times like these, you have to block out the noise. You have to think very objectively, and hopefully today's video can help you do so. So if you do enjoy content like this, make sure to click the subscribe button down below and hit that post notification bell for the latest crypto alpha. I've got some fire videos dropping over the next week, which dive into certain narratives that I think are going to be very beneficial for you. Looking at the market right now, we can see it is a little bit of a sea of green after obviously the week has been a sea of red. Nice to see a bit of a reaction from the market after Bitcoin obviously put in a couple of red candles, which resulted in the price going all the way down to 91,500. We are seeing a little bit of a rebound at the moment. Will this rebound sustain? That's something I'm going to be discussing later in this video. I've got some data that I want to show you that, in my opinion, gives us a good indicator as to what's going to happen over the next few weeks and also in February. But right now, we are seeing a little bit of a response in altcoins, which is good. It's a bit of relief, especially for people that hold alts, which gives you a bit more leeway to look at rebalancing some positions. If you're really short on stables, this is a bit more of an opportunity to top up. If you were really panicking over the last couple of weeks, it's probably a sign you're a bit too overexposed to the market. And later in the video, I'll look at exactly how I'm going about rebalancing right now, what sectors I'm going a little bit heavier on, and what types of coins maybe you could look to take profits / de-risk on if you are in a position where you feel like you're a little bit too overexposed to the market. It's going to be a nice section to end the show. But firstly, looking at Bitcoin, let's just go through the market and kind of the reasons for the dip and some of the latest developments that have been affecting the market. You can see that Bitcoin came down to test the range low again. Honestly, this is a very choppy range, which seems to be freaking out a lot of people. But at the end of the day, it is just a range between 92,000 and 100,000. We've seen deviation, above and below, crazy liquidation cascades to both sides, but it's really just a choppy market. And during this chop, people have really been losing their minds, feeling fatigued, feeling apathetic, which does make sense because I think Q4 was particularly insane, and a lot of people are probably tired heading into the new year, and then only to see altcoins chop sideways or bleed out. I get it's a frustrating period in the market right now. However, it's definitely not a time to be shaken out because you're going to see the data in a couple of minutes here. I don't think it's the time to be capitulating on spot positions. Is it the time to be potentially look at tweaking things? And is it the time to be researching new stuff and making sure you're adequately positioned for the rest of the quarter? Absolutely. It's never too late for that. But is it time to panic? No, I'm not panicking one bit. And even if Bitcoin goes down a little bit more over the next few days, that's entirely possible. I still don't think it's any reason to panic, and I'll show you why in a few minutes here. Looking at Bitcoin from a weekly perspective kind of summarizes everything though. Like, there's been so much drama on the timeline, but if you look at Bitcoin right now, there's nothing really to be alarmed about from a high time frame perspective. I mean, we've had a massive run, we consolidated, we had another run, we're just consolidating again, and at some point I think we get another run at some point later in this year. So this is just a bit of a sideways move, which is playing mind games with people on the new year. Kabisi Letter summarizes some of the events that are happening from a macro perspective. Stocks swinging daily, can't pick a direction, so it's not just crypto. Stocks have also been chopping sideways. Oil prices rising like a recession has been avoided. Gold prices are rising like a recession's on the way, so lots of conflicting macro data right now. Treasury yields are rising like inflation is rebounding. US dollars rising like the Fed rate hikes are returning. Crypto is falling like the bull market is stalling out. What a start to 2025. And I think this is where some of the confusion comes in because we're getting so many contradictory signals. It's only natural that you're going to have people looking at certain data points and extrapolating them. So looking at treasury yields going up and painting a very grim picture for the macro, looking at oil prices or gold prices and trying to extrapolate that data, looking at the crypto prices dropping and also extrapolating that into saying the bull market's over, the top's in, like Ansem, for example, saying that the top is 75% in. I'm going to be going over what percentage I actually think the likelihood is of the top being in later in today's video. But what I can tell you is that there's been so much discourse and discussion on either side of the coin. So it's only natural that people are feeling confused right now. And I can really summarize a lot of this into a few major things that happened. Firstly, we had some macro data that came out that indicated that the economy was slightly hotter than expected, which maybe slightly reduces the chances of a rate cut throughout the rest of the year. Obviously, we never expected a rate cut to happen in 10 days, which is the next FOMC, but the probabilities did shift a bit for the rest of the year, given the fact that this may lead to a slightly more hawkish Jerome Powell. So that's what triggered the initial dip. Then we saw Trump coming out and making some comments about inflation being too high, which kind of solidifies that thesis, which caused a bit of a spook in the stock market and thus crypto. And then the kind of nail in the coffin for crypto was the DOJ FUD that started going around about, and it's not FUD because the US government is selling Bitcoin, but the reaction was FUD. There was a big sell-off the morning that this started floating around about the federal judge ruling that the DOJ can sell their Bitcoin, and that started to make the news again because people are like, oh, over the next few days before Trump is in office, they're going to start dumping Bitcoin onto the market, which is going to cause sell pressure, and then there was a lot of de-risking. Personally, it doesn't make much sense to me to panic about this because we already knew about this. This isn't necessarily new news in the market. We knew at some point this Bitcoin was going to be liquidated within the next month. It's just, I guess people are now assuming that's going to be before Trump comes in because they need to sell before the new administration comes in. That very well may be the case, but it's not something I'm really panicking about because I think, the market has, in my opinion, already priced it in. Of course, you can argue either side, but usually once news like this drops, the initial reaction prices in the outcome. And two, how many times have these FUD events, in terms of forced selling, actually marked local bottoms? Like the German forced selling of Bitcoin also marked a local bottom. These FUD events typically tend to be overblown. So I think it was a combination of these factors which have resulted in the sell-off in the market. And even still, Bitcoin is still rebounded into the mid-90s. Now, could it come back down, to the low 90s, high 80s? Of course it could. Who's to say that it can't? It's going to be a busy couple of weeks in the market. You have CPI next week, which is going to be really important to get a bearing on what Jerome Powell's going to say on the 20th. Then you also have non-farm payrolls coming out later today. That's going to give us an idea as to the unemployment rate in the labor market. That could sway Bitcoin in either direction. It's a volatile and choppy period in the market, and it's always going to be like this. In January, when you're getting traders back at their desks, they're starting to position for the year. They're starting to, look through and decipher what directionality is going to be like for the market this year. We're getting all this macro data, which is on a lag from December. Remember, after the FOMC on the 20th of January, there is a blackout until March. So February, there's no FOMC meeting. So whatever the decision is and whatever the tone and the rhetoric is from Jerome Powell on the 20th of January, that is likely going to stick around, that sentiment, for a couple of months. If the market prices in that he's going to go out really hawkish and he comes out in line with market expectations, that very well could provide us with some headroom to rally into February because people know there's no FOMC and the market has already priced in that outcome. So that is something to keep in mind as well from a macro perspective. In response to all of this volatility, I think there are a couple ground rules that I'd like to lay down. Firstly, don't trade leverage during this period. Leverage can be a good tool, I think, at times to reduce your risk in the market and increase your capital efficiency in the market. But I don't think now is one of those times where you really need to use it, just given the fact that it's a very high risk period in the market due to the volatility. We've seen liquidation events to both sides. So I would avoid that. I would also consolidate my portfolio down. I'll talk a little bit later in today's video in the final section about how I'm going about doing that. But holding a bunch of altcoins right now doesn't make a lot of sense. And then the other thing you can consider doing is actually dollar cost averaging in during this period of choppiness on the red candles into solid coins that you think are going to rebound in February. And a lot of these coins I'm going to speak about later today as well, because there are some clear narratives which, in my opinion, are no-brainer buys. If the market does rebound, they're going to outperform. But before we get into all of that, I want to discuss this whole cycle top discussion, because this has been a big discussion. I was going to do a show yesterday and dive deep into it. I saw Ran covered it and pretty much honestly summarized my thoughts, but I thought I'd come on today and also give you my, synopsis of this whole discussion. So it pretty much started when Evan did a tweet saying, look, he thinks there's a 20 to 25% chance that the cycle's topped, and Ansem, who's been one of the most prolific and notorious people on crypto Twitter, came out and said he thinks there's a 75% chance that the cycle's topped, which we can get into the Ansem discussion another time, but I think it freaked a lot of people out because he's been a big bull, especially of a lot of meme coins, of Solana, and he's spoken about so many coins and pushed so many narratives, Phantom AI. So to hear him say that the cycle's topped, I think threw a lot of people off guard, being one of the most famous people on crypto Twitter and someone that I guess a lot of people look up to. This has caused CT to go into a bit of a frenzy. Everyone was discussing, has the cycle topped? Hasn't it topped? The first comment I want to make before I try and answer that question myself is all of this is probabilistic. So it would be stupid to assume that this is black and white. So the cycle has or hasn't topped. Even last cycle, when there were top indicators, it was still a probabilistic outcome based on a set of variables. So you can look at all the information, the pros for the market, the cons for the market, the cycle top indicators, the arguments that we have topped, the arguments that we haven't topped, and then you can use all of that information to come to a prediction, which is going to be highly subjective by nature, of the percentage likelihood that the cycle has topped. Now, if Ansem's 75% thing here is really what he thinks, then he's saying that based on the balance of probabilities, he's assigning this number. Evan is saying based on the balance of probabilities, he's assigning that number. So the first thing I want to make clear is you're never going to know 100%. Never 100%. Maybe it can be 80%, 90% if there's really strong top indicators, but no one knows. I could be right, I could be wrong, Ansem could be right, Ansem could be wrong. I think he's more wrong than right because he's gone, in my opinion, way too far on that number, given the pros and cons, which we're going to discuss for the market. But the reality is, it's just a probability. There is no black or white. And I think with every single trade, that's a good rhetoric to drill into your head, because you should be thinking probabilistically in the market. As new information comes in, you should actually change your bias. Now, that's not to say you become flippant and you sell coins you love and you buy a bunch of rubbish, or, you go in and out of the market. Chopping out of the market is never a good strategy. However, you can tweak how conservative you are. You can tweak how aggressive you are. You can tweak which alts you're heavier on or less heavy on. You can consolidate. You can do swing trades, all of this sort of stuff as new information comes in. That's not only for the macro market, but that's also for the altcoin market. You could be holding an altcoin that you are really bullish on, but then information comes out that makes you slightly less bullish. This information could be fundamental news, it could be a FUD event, it could even be price action. Weak price action in and of itself gives you information. It gives you information that that coin isn't hot, and then you have to look into the reasons, why isn't it hot? Why is it stalling? And then you can start to come to conclusions as to what to do with that coin. So I think it's very important that you always consider new information and think probabilistically instead of in absolutes. Like, this token will 5x, or this will go to 0, or the market has topped or hasn't topped, because the entire market is just based on placing EV bets. Every time you make a bet in the market, your expected value is positive. And if you do that enough times, over and over and over, eventually you're going to make money in the market. If you consistently implement your edge, you're going to make money overall. And you can actually afford to have big losers and big winners, because overall, on balance, you're making money in the market. In my opinion, and Tyler also alludes to this in this tweet, there's been no signs of the market blowing off top. I've only seen and experienced market fatigue. And I think that is really what's driving this sentiment at the moment. I don't think the sentiment is being driven by obvious top signals playing out. Because to be honest, barely any top signals have played out. If you go onto CoinGlass, there's a great page which shows you all the bull market peak indicators, and it shows you whether it's hit or not. None of them, 0 of the 30 historical cycle top indicators have hit. Now, you can make the argument this cycle is different and that, institutionalization has changed the market, and that's true. And that may be a caveat to this data. However, remember what I said, it's about probabilities. Don't you think that if the market had topped, at least 1 or 2 of these would have hit? That's just a question you have to ask yourself. So based on historical bull market peak indicators, we haven't seen any of them. Not the Pi cycle top indicator, which is a classic one people look to, which has a top around 135 to 140K. Not the Bitcoin rainbow indicator. Love it or hate it, it has been in the past at least an indicator of momentum. Not the Bitcoin bubble index, which takes the Bitcoin difficulty, transaction data, and on-chain data to look at how bubbly Bitcoin is. None of these top indicators that people look to historically have hit. However, even though the top indicators haven't hit, there is another side of the market right now, which is, I think, impacting people's judgment, and that is the psychological aspect of this cycle. I'll explain what I mean. There's a lot of exhaustion in the market right now, and you might feel a bit tired. Even some days I'm feeling tired in the market, but I think the majority of people, or at least a large contingent of the retail populace of the market, feel a bit of fatigue, exhaustion, or disillusionment, especially people that are new to crypto, like from the 2024 cycle that came in. I think a lot of these market participants haven't experienced these feelings before that maybe some of us that have been around since 2019, 2018, 2020, we've experienced a little bit more, so we're a bit more used to this, and maybe this even feels normal to you, this kind of price action, because, I mean, just looking at the charts, it looks pretty normal to me. And in fact, January's historically, on election years and halving years, have always had this dip. This happened in 2021 as well. So even though all the data is kind of like, well, this is normal, nothing to really see here, the sentiment definitely doesn't match that. I mean, if you go on Twitter and other social medias, I think on YouTube it's a little bit harder to decipher because there's still a lot of bullishness and the comments are very messy, so it's hard to decipher exactly what the sentiment is on YouTube. But I think the Twitter sentiment, since it's in real time, is obviously going to carry over into the general sentiment. So there's basically two contingents of the market right now. There's contingent A, who made life-changing money in 2024. So they probably hit a big trade in memes, AI, and I think these people are exhausted because they've had big wins last year. It's a new year. You have to back it up and go again. Even after a big win, you've still got to back it up. Just like, Man City winning the title, they've got to go again next year. It just resets and you got to try again. And that's a difficult feeling at the start of the year. And maybe some of you are feeling a bit overwhelmed as well. Even I have at times over the past few days. It's like, okay, Christmas is over. We got to get back into it now. And we got a whole year to do this again. So it's coming to grips with that. And there's a natural, I think, exhaustion from that, given the fact that the market really hasn't had a break since last cycle because it's gone from crazy bull to bear. We had a bit of a chill period and then it got crazy again. So even people that made money, you're naturally going to feel a bit burnt out and maybe even a little bit complacent. After you make a lot of money, it's kind of, you sit back, you relax, you chill. And there's a little bit of complacency, which is why they might be feeling slightly apathetic. And then there's contingent B of the market, who are the people who didn't perform last year. And maybe you do fall into that basket. Maybe you still made money, but you underperformed Bitcoin, or you underperformed at least what the facade is on Twitter, because we all know it's survivorship bias. People flexing their gains on memes and AI and showing off their Lambos and how much money they're making. And you're seeing all of this and you're looking at your portfolio and you're like, well, I'm not really making that much money, but everyone else seems to be making money. And that is naturally going to cause disillusionment and I guess the feeling of discouragement because you're seeing everyone else make money and you're not making money. So when you break it down this way, no wonder there's this sentiment in the market right now. It's not being driven by the fact, in my opinion, there's a cycle top or an obvious top indicator. I think it's more so being driven by general complacency / fatigue, which is set in for those two reasons. But you got to remember this sentiment ebbs and flows and it naturally goes away. It's not fundamental. It's a symptom. It's a symptom of price action. So that symptom is cured by the underlying cause, which is price action changing. So the second you get price action to the upside, this all goes away and this sentiment shifts gears. People thrive off dopamine. People thrive off energy. Energy in the market is created by price action. Price action and momentum in crypto are so important. When that momentum comes back, because it's stalled for almost a month now, that's when this feeling will go away and then the sentiment will completely shift. And even over the last 24 hours, we're already seeing sentiment shift a bit. So you can't really get too caught up in these sentiment games because you're going to have bearish periods. Sure, the market could go down a bit more. People could get really bearish. Tomorrow we might have a massive pump. I don't know exactly. I've got a rough idea, which I'm going to get into in a minute as to what I expect to happen, but you just don't know in the market. You need a strategy which doesn't rely on short-term price action. Now, if you're a low time frame short-term scalp trader, and there are a lot in my Discord, that's fine. You're in a separate category. Your job is a bit separate. Someone like me, who's more of a narrative trader, a longer-term investor, and sometimes a swing trader, my theses for a coin generally aren't day-to-day. They're at least a few weeks, a couple months, and in some cases a year plus. So for people like me, and maybe a lot of you follow a similar strategy to me, you don't really want to get caught up in the ebbs and flows. Yes, take new information into account and go a bit more defensive at times and go a bit more aggressive at times, but don't chuck the baby out with the bathwater every time there is a market move, because that's what's going to kill you. So what do I think about price action? Because I've made it clear now I don't think the probability that the cycle top is in. If I had to estimate, I'd say 20 to 25% as well. I agree with Evan. I don't think it's 75. I think that's ludicrous from Ansem, although I do think it's valid to make people question their logic. What he did is he questioned a lot of people's beliefs. So he made people ask themselves, are you happy with your gains this cycle? Would you be happy if the cycle had topped? Are you content? Are your price targets realistic? Have you achieved what you wanted to achieve? Like, all of these questions, I think, started to arise after people started considering, is the cycle top in? Now, I don't think it's in, so you're going to have a chance to maybe answer those questions a bit later. But I think it's a good exercise to do. Ask yourself, would you be happy if the cycle had topped? Now, by the way, even if the cycle had topped, there's still opportunity. I think that's also something people rely on a bit too much. They rely on these big alt seasons, which doesn't really make much sense considering there is so much power in trading narratives and there's so much opportunity in the market. Like, you guys that have been watching the channel over the past few months and the ones that are in the Discord, you've seen us hit crazy trades on like AI coins where you have a 5 to 8x in just a matter of days off a good spot in the market during a hot narrative. So the thing with these sectors like AI, and you're seeing all sorts of new things like DeFi AI and these new trends which we're going to dig deep into over the next week or so, you can make money regardless of the conditions. So even if the top was in, what, you think we just go to zero now? Did you see what happened last cycle after the top was in? You went from 70 to 50 and then you bounce back to 68. So you have big relief bounces where there's chances to make money. Then you drop again, then you bounce again. We're not going to get a lunar again this cycle, so the drop won't be as crazy. It'll be more of a slow bleed, but with periods of, echo bubble-esque rallies, in my opinion. So even if the cycle top was in, which I don't think it's in, there's still opportunities to make money. I think it's about tweaking your strategy to not be so reliant on these big, huge alt seasons, which come around, let's say, once every cycle. Do I still think that's coming? I mean, probabilistically, I think so. But should you be relying on it? Not really. There's too much opportunity in the market. There's too much alpha. There are too many opportunities to be sitting back and I think just relying on this alt season to just magically take your bags to the next level. If you are just a person that just likes to DCA and hold stuff and not really actively trade, that's fine too. The tweak that you're going to have to make, or at least think about and be cognizant of, is being in the coins that really align with the hot narratives. I think even if you're a long-term holder, you need to be adaptive, because if you were long-term holding coins 6 months ago, even the AI coins, they look a little bit different now. The space is evolving quite quickly. Like, there are new agents starting to launch, new proxies coming about. So even if you're a long-term holder, you need to be adjusting and rebalancing and adding new coins every now and then that fit the current meta. And that's something I keep you up to date with here on the YouTube and on the Discord, and also tweaking positioning. That's not saying getting out of coins if they're boring, because sometimes boring is a good chance to accumulate, but it's really being critical and questioning what narratives are performing, what is likely to perform, what's the trend, what's the general feeling in the market. This kind of stuff is even more important than last cycle, because this cycle we're seeing all-time high altcoin dispersion, which means there are new launches all the time, unlocks hitting the market all the time, which makes setting and forgetting a lot more difficult. Like, my personal strategy, yes, I do hold a lot of coins longer term, but I'm constantly making tweaks and adding new stuff and finding new opportunities. Like, someone in the Discord asked me the other day, Miles, I'm 50% cash. Should I, invest the 50% because I'm going to miss the bull run? And I said, look, honestly, sure, you can DCA in, but generally speaking, you could theoretically hold 100% cash. You don't need to invest a cent and just go in and out based on opportunities. Because, for example, a lot of the coins that I share in the Discord, the ones that do pull huge multiples, you can kind of get into them And then, not always, I'm not saying it's guaranteed to go up. Things go wrong. Sometimes I share coins that go down. But overall, we've had most of our coins go up. I think it's 21 out of 26 now, even including a select few that have gone down. So when those opportunities arise, if you have stables, you have firepower to go into a certain opportunity in the market. And then you don't really need to be holding a bunch of stuff because you're just trying to get into the hottest coins at any given time. So that's also something to consider. So you don't really need to be all in the market. In fact, one of my goals this year personally is being less in the market in terms of spot holding. My stable coin weighting is above 30% right now. I'm not really looking to go down to 20 or down to 15 because I don't really need to. If I see an opportunity in the market, let's say tomorrow, because I'm researching every day and I've got a research team who's researching stuff for me every day and finding stuff. There's a chance tomorrow I find something brilliant. I never know when alpha's going to come, right? It comes really sporadically sometimes. Sometimes I get 3 trades in a day. Like yesterday or 2 days ago, I shared 2 trades or 3 trades in the Mars High Club because sometimes things just come. I actually want to hold less tokens and a bit more cash and just go bigger on opportunities when I see them. So if I'm holding 30% stables, right, I can go down to 25, put 5% into a trade if I really have a lot of conviction. That's my max, by the way. 5% per altcoin is my max. Generally speaking, occasionally I've broken the rule, but usually I get burnt when I break the rule. So from now on, 5% is going to be the max, and it typically is. Going into that coin and that thesis, wait for that to play out, and then rebalance or take profits over time to top up my stables back to 30%. And gradually, as the cycle goes on, you take profits even more aggressively and you go from 30% to 40% to 50%. And then eventually you're not really relying on this big alt season. So that's kind of even where my thinking has gone. And I'm sure a lot of members of the Discord, their thinking has also gone there, just due to it being what this cycle demands. This cycle demands a bit of a different strategy to last cycle, in my opinion. But obviously everyone has their trading strategy. Now, going on to my thoughts on the market and directionality, I did this post in my Discord yesterday to keep you guys updated. I said, yes, the market's weakened off the back of the DOJ for selling Bitcoin macro data and fear about Trump's inflation comments, which probably creates a choppy environment until the 20th. So I'm still expecting the next 10 days to be choppy unless we get a really good CPI, good as in bad. Bad data is good for risk assets due to Jerome Powell, and also the unemployment data. So if we get bad economic data, that would be good for markets, in my opinion, risk on assets. However, we don't know how that data is going to go. It's a coin flip, basically. So I think it's going to be choppy for that reason, volatile for the next 10 days, and then FOMC is on the 20th. So as long as there are no surprises, we know there's that blackout period during February. So in my opinion, February becomes the month where, as long as there's no shocks at FOMC, we could see that expansion to the upside. Trump will be in office by then. DOJ selling will be priced in by then if it isn't already. We have the FOMC blackout. And a very interesting point that people are forgetting. Seasonality-wise, February is a much better month for crypto than January. The average returns for Bitcoin and altcoins in February are much, 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 much stronger in February than January, where we always experience these dips during post-halving years and election years. So I don't really know why people are freaking out right now when the seasonality and most of the data right now is alluding to a stronger February to March period. Could that change if there's a really awful FOMC? Sure, because that could add a slight headwind to the market heading into February. But as long as there isn't, my general feeling is that this is an opportunity heading into February. And I'll get into later, very soon, actually, some of the coins I'm DCAing into. So that's my update that I posted in the Discord. By the way, very important. In the Discord, every single day right now, I'm answering a bunch of questions via voice notes, sometimes 4 or 5 minute voice notes. So if you have any question for me at any time, if you join the Discord, if you're already in the Discord, just go into the Mars Alpha Hub, go into the Questions for Miles channel, and ask a question. Today, I got asked about Bio, which is a new DeSci coin. I gave my 1-minute thesis on that. I got asked about stablecoins and stables versus fiat, how much I hold, how I go about it. I did a minute on that. Someone asked me about checks versus C-Pool and Ondo. What's the best RWA coin? I answered that. Someone asked me about anyone, so you can send me tokens. Someone asked me about Mu. Any question you have. So if you're watching these shows every day and you have a question, if you want a personalized answer from me, I'm putting in the time. And it does take a lot of time, but I'm willing to do it because A, I find it really fun. And B, it's a group at the end of the day that I want to have the highest alpha. And to have the highest alpha, I need to be there. So I'm not seeing many other people do this in the space, like YouTubers, but you can actually get personalized time with me every day, essentially, through asking a question, and I send you a voice note back, which is, I think, pretty cool and unique. So if you do want to join the Discord and get access to that, hit the link in the description below. I try and do it every day, usually twice a day, a session in the morning and a session at night. So sometimes the questions pile up and then I'll just go through and answer them all at once. So sometimes they take like 12 hours if I'm asleep. Sometimes it can stretch to 24 hours, but pretty much within a day, you'll have your question answered by me personally on a voice note. Pretty much anything you want to know, which I think is very, very cool. And then obviously we do the collaborative AMA sessions on Sunday. We have a bunch of AMA sessions every single week. So Fabian has a session. He's one of our other analysts, Morin, Paradise, and then myself on Sunday. So you're always going to stay up to date in the market. But I thought I'd mention that because I hadn't spoken about it publicly on the show, but it's definitely a very good feature of the Discord I think people enjoy that I wanted to highlight today. And that's also good because I am getting a little bit of feedback, and I think it's valid feedback, that, a frustration people have about my videos is, I might speak about a coin and then I just don't address it again, or I don't update it for a matter of months, or, I might talk about an AI coin and then I have new coins and everyone's like, what happened to that coin? Naturally, this is a very difficult thing to navigate on YouTube because it's very hard to give you updates on every coin daily because I'm trying to make these videos to serve the broader market. So me addressing a coin that I've mentioned at some point and what I'm doing, at that point I may have already taken profits, I may have rotated, something may have happened that changed my bias, and I may have, made a decision. It's very hard on the YouTube to update on that. I do try my best, but it's hard. Whereas on Discord, you can literally ask me at any time, like, Miles, have you sold some of this? Are you still bullish on this? Is there a better option than this? And I can actually answer the question. So I understand for some of you it's frustrating because the Discord has a paywall, but I think if you're really serious about this cycle, it's a pretty good investment in my opinion, given the amount of alpha that's there, but also the fact that you can actually get answers to some of these questions, which I've seen a lot of them in the YouTube comments, and I am working on how to address that in the YouTube videos, but it's hard, and it's something that I think every crypto commentary person or educator has that problem, especially if you're speaking about altcoins. And sometimes a lot of altcoins, because I'm always trying to stay ahead of the curve, give you guys the latest alpha, give you guys the latest updates, instead of just talking about the same 3 coins every day. Also, it's kind of funny. It's kind of a bit of a lose-lose because if you mention too many coins, people are like, there's too many coins. And if you keep repeating the same coins, people say, there's no alpha. You're just talking about the same coins again, which I find funny. It's kind of a lose-lose, but at the end of the day, it's a balance. And what I found is just staying true to myself is the best way to do the channel. Like, instead of trying to force alpha, if I have alpha, share it. If I don't, just keep repeating the same beliefs I have, because oftentimes they don't change very flippantly. They usually just change and evolve over time as the market matures and, new information comes to light. So in light of this, what am I doing right now? Now you've got my opinion. I think February will be better for crypto. I think January will still be a little bit choppy. Generally speaking, I think this opens the door for some new opportunities. But firstly, before you even look at new opportunities to buy in the market, first rebalance. So what I always recommend doing is, before you go and add a bunch of new coins, just look at your existing coins. What are you happy with? What are you bullish on? What are you bearish on? By the way, if you are in the Discord and you want my opinions, ask me. Hey Miles, what do you think of checks? Hey Miles, what do you think of Solana? Hey Miles, what do you think of stacks? What do you think of whatever you want to know about? Mu, WIF, any coin, I'll give you my opinion. So if you are doing that rebalancing right now, feel free to ask me. I think I'm going to have like 1,000 questions tonight because I'm announcing this on the YouTube. But anyway, I'll spend an hour tomorrow morning if I have to. I really, 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 really want to give members the best Discord in crypto. Like, that is, at the end of the day, my goal here. Make people a lot of money and also have the best Discord in crypto, which I think we already have. But I just want to keep drilling that home. So ask me what you want. But rebalancing, you also have to question yourself. You also have to question, is this coin still a hold at this given point in time? Is there a better hold in the market? Based on relative strength, is this going to be the best investment for this cycle? What does it look like against Bitcoin? Question every single holding you have before you add a new coin. Now, I'm not saying just get rid of anything that's underperforming, but genuinely question whether you have conviction in it. Do you still believe in this, or is it a bit iffy? Because if it is a bit iffy, if the market did go down a bit further, I think you'd have a really tough time holding it mentally. So you want to be in the assets you have the most conviction in at all times. And you want your conviction to be more of a science than just riding off the back of momentum. So firstly, rebalance. That's the first thing I'd recommend. If you hold more than 20 coins right now, I don't think it's the right strategy for this cycle. I really, really believe 10 to 15 coins right now is a better place to be. And then you can trade the other 10 if you do want to hold 25 coins. Now, I'm slightly breaking my own rule here, but I'm going to give myself a pass on this one because I'm full-time crypto. Like, I do this all day. I was up late last night, managing my portfolio. I've been doing it all morning. Like, I do this all day. So I feel like I can afford to maybe hold slightly more coins than the average person. But I know most of you have jobs or are students or don't have the time to do that. So the majority of you, I don't know how you're going to manage 20 to 30 plus positions. I really don't. So I think try and consolidate down to 10 to 15 core positions you have a lot of conviction in. Maybe this means I mentioned 5 AI coins and you only can pick one of them. That's cool. Just pick the one you have the most conviction in. I give you a bunch of options on the shows. Not all of them are must-holds, but they're options, things you can look into further, things you can trade. It's not financial advice. It's stuff for you to research further. It's education to help you go and do your own research. And I think consolidating is a really important thing right now. After you've done that, now you can consider where there are gaps. Are you in the right stuff that during the next run is going to perform the best? So I would consider DCAing into quality coins that are A, either really oversold and presenting a huge opportunity, or B, have really good relative strength and are likely going to perform well on this next leg. I'll give you an example of the former. Phantom performed awfully after Sonic, now starting to rebound off the bottom of the money oodle, which is our exclusive indicator in MHC. But I think now it's a genuine play heading into the official rebrand. Now you see the S ticker that is launched. I think it was on my screen. Here you go. The S ticker, due to the migration of Sonic. So I think Phantom is actually a good play right now. Bybit forced to close positions on the 6th of Jan. That caused a lot of volatility. Forced closures on the 10th. Given conditions on Binance, given conditions, most were long, meaning it feels like the price really overextended to the downside due to longs closing. This is what one of the analysts in one of the groups I'm in sent in. So I totally agree with that. I think there's been a lot of positions that were forced to close due to the migration, active open positions, mostly on leverage. And given that most people were long into the event, buy the rumor, sell the news, the sell the news event, and it also coincided with the market turning bad. And they also had issues with migration and bad communication around all of that. All of that resulted in a bigger sell-off than what it should have been. But the reality is now you're looking at a coin at only a few $1 billion val in a sea of coins, at 30 to 40 billion plus that are other L1s that genuinely has market leading tech. It is amazing tech, and they have a very good ecosystem, and we're going to be talking about it more on the channel over the next few weeks, focusing on some opportunities there. But I think, honestly, sleeping on Phantom, I don't think is the right thing to do. I think, if anything, that sell-off has maybe solidified the opportunity. So that was one of the coins I posted in my alpha channel this morning. The second coin I posted was Orderly. Orderly had a big announcement that essentially RAYDIUM is going to be launching perps powered by Orderly Network. So if you guys don't know what Orderly does, it's the back-end solution to provide liquidity so these protocols can actually offer perps trading. They're also integrated with a bunch of other exchanges in crypto. So it becomes that solution, that interoperable solution to facilitate trading. If you look at Hyperliquid, it's at a multi-billion-dollar valuation. Orderly right now is sitting at a $50 million valuation. So the discrepancy is massive. And if you want to think about it, Hyperliquid's a front end, basically. Orderly is a pick and shovel because it's powering all of these other dexes, and RAYDIUM's actually the second biggest dex on Solana. So I think over time, this is going to generate a lot more fees for the protocol. But the reason I'm speaking about it today is because the chart looks really good. You have higher lows, it bounced off the noodle, it's starting to reclaim this horizontal level as well. And fundamentally, I think it's undervalued and it's good tech. So yeah, I took a position in it, and I think it's a good one to consider for these next few months. And I think the Solana narrative for Orderly is now really strong. And they don't have unlocks for another matter of months. So in terms of market cap to FDV, I think it's a decent proposition. So Orderly showing relative strength, Phantom isn't showing relative strength, but both for different reasons I think are solid DCAs. Now, I had this post in my Discord that I did, which I think is maybe valuable to some of you. That's why I'm sharing it today. I'm leaking a lot of alpha from the Discord, but now you can see the type of stuff that I post day to day. There are some lower cap coins that I mentioned over the last 48 hours, which I'm not mentioning here for obvious reasons, but obviously if you're in MHC, you get access to all of those as well. So I was asked a lot in the question channel, like, Miles, what coins are you bullish on to do like safe 5x's? Now, look, nothing in crypto is safe, but I get the question. People want larger caps that aren't 10x plays, but can do solid multiples, and I was asked to pick my favorite ones. My favorite ones are above a 200 mil valuation, of course, which kind of excludes a lot of these coins. Hyperliquid, I think that's a very solid, safer play. Nothing in crypto is safe, but safer than, a low cap coin. Beam, I think as a gaming proxy with what they're doing, I think Beam is a very obvious play that can 3 to 5x pretty easily. These aren't plays that's going to be difficult to 3 to 5x. Solana's difficult to 3x. It's got a huge valuation. Hype and Beam, very feasible in my opinion. Athena, especially if the bull run kicks on, I think that'll reprice higher and you're getting it on a bit of a dip now. Virtual and AI16Z, they're both leaders. Virtual's the AI agent infrastructure leader. AI16Z is launching an AI L1. Look, they're not the highest upside AI agent picks. I've done videos and even some that I've spoken about, that I'll speak about later today. I think they have more upside, but these two at least are your proxies that are safer 3 to 5x's in the market. So if I had to hold a 5 altcoin portfolio that could safely get those gains right now based on the current meta, these could be it. You could also make the argument for some memes, but the problem with memes right now is I don't think they're going to recover as quick. So although at some point I expect them to come back, that recovery is going to take longer and it's going to be a much harder hold than some of these, which agents are just undoubtedly the hottest narrative right now. So what are some other AI agents that you can look at DCAing during this dip on the premise that when the market recovers, let's say it is in February, these will probably recover the strongest? Well, firstly, before I get into them, I have a big giveaway at the moment on BTC.d. So this is actually quite a fun one. GRIFFAIN, ALCH, and AI16Z. These are 3 of the biggest AI coins in the market right now. If you go to the link in the description, sign up for a new BTC.d account and deposit $100 or more. Obviously, you can just withdraw it afterwards, but just deposit it in for the spin. You can basically get $10 of AI16Z airdrop for free, so 10% of your deposit value for free, airdrop to your account, firstly. And secondly, you're going to get a spin. So you'll be able to spin the wheel and win 5 AI16Z, which I think right now is valued at $1.60. So that's another almost $10 of free tokens. 300 GRIFFAIN. I think that's how you say it. Or is it GRIFFAIN? Not sure. Anyway, 500 ALCH. You can spin the wheel and earn free tokens. So not only do you get a $10 airdrop to your account of AI16Z, it's free tokens. You also get a spin. All you need to do is sign up for a new account if you don't have one already. And then you can deposit $100 and you get access to this. However, this is only applicable to the first 100 users. So just make sure you're fast if you do want to do this campaign. Typically, within a couple days, we'll hit 100 users, maybe even sooner because I haven't mentioned BTC.d in a while. So if you want to do it, be as quick as possible. And you can actually get more spins. So technically, it's unlimited spins. You can keep spinning. And the way to get more spins is to build up trading volume. Obviously, earlier in the video, I said, I'm not really touching leverage right now. So I'm not really endorsing this in terms of just trading for the sake of trading. But if you are already trading and if you're a low time frame trader, that option is there for you to win more spins. But irrespective of whether you trade, you still get a free spin and the airdrop of $10. So it's pretty much free money. Link in the description. Sign up for BTC.d. Great exchange for trading, in my opinion. Been one of my favorite exchanges to use this cycle. Now, looking at some of these coins that you can maybe DCA into, AI16Z is responding really well. If this has another pullback and we get another retest of these lows, this could be a good one to DCA into. If not, you could wait for the flip and then retest of this noodle. So just have this on your radar. These are like things to have on your radar for the next 10 days. I'm not saying buy now. It's just over the next 10 days, if we see some chop, if we get some bad macro data, these are the types of coins that I think you can DCA into. So AI16Z is one. FARTCOIN's another. Right now, it's bouncing off the money noodle and horizontal support. It's a leader that went down over 60, 70%. So for me, this could be a play that makes sense. A couple coins that are showing extreme relative strength right now, which are in my portfolio. One is Morphware. This is another AI play. It's not an AI agent, but it's an AI pick and shovel because they're an energy play. So basically, to power AI tech and to power agents, you need GPU power. Morphware owns a bunch of GPUs and mines Bitcoin at an extremely cheap rate. And obviously, you need these GPUs to power AI. So they're kind of a pick and shovel play on the energy side as opposed to having a specific agent, which every project right now is pretty much launching. So the reason I'm pointing it out today as well isn't just on the fundamental side, it's relative strength. This has held up really well and didn't really drop as much as other coins over the last few days, which in my opinion was a good sign. So I wanted to put that back on your list if you've forgotten about it. Basically, what you can do is just, make a TradingView watch list and just put a bunch of coins you're watching in your watch list. These aren't all buys, by the way. These are just coins I want to watch, and I just make a big list of them. And you can do it on TradingView, and then you can basically know at any given moment what a coin is doing. So that one's showing good relative strength. Another one that's showing really good relative strength, in fact, insane strength, and dipped perfectly off this horizontal support and the moving average is Vertical AI, who are an official sponsor of the show. They actually had this alpha listing on Binance. So when Binance is looking at new projects, and it can mean they're looking at them for a listing, by the way. I know many projects on Binance Alpha List have ended up getting listed. It's not a guarantee, but it's a good sign. They essentially got, because it means they're on their radar, they got listed on their Alpha List. So essentially this showcases interesting and cool projects in the space. So that's that was a big bonus in my opinion. Obviously, other big creators have also been talking about it, which has helped price perform well. I think, Alex Becker, guys like this are also involved, so that also helps, just having more creators, meaning that it's not going to just fall off a cliff in terms of mindshare. Essentially what they do, if you didn't watch the last video, is they allow you to train, deploy, and monetize your custom AI model. So you can basically build your model using no code on Vertical AI, which basically means anyone can launch their own AI model. So I think these pick and shovel plays are good. I love some of the agents. They're really fun. They're really interesting. But I've always said that I think the pick and shovel plays, to build the tech behind it, to build the models, to build the agents, this stuff has a little bit more longevity in the market. And that's one of the reasons why I got them on board as a show sponsor, because I think there's just so much interesting stuff that can be created once you have the tech, the underlying tech for it. Obviously, price action as well on the token side has held up really well in terms of relative strength. And yeah, I think for now that kind of wraps up all the coins I wanted to summarize. I could keep speaking about individual alts, but it would drag the show on too long, and I think I've kind of given most of the core information here. If you don't have any more questions, as I mentioned, I'm answering via personalized voice notes in the Mars High Club, link in the description below. If you want to sign up and join and be a part of the community, while you're at it, also grab yourself a Blowfin account and get that free $10 AI16Z airdrop alongside a free spin of the Lucky Wheel. I'll see you in the next video. Hope you have a lovely weekend. Not weekend. See you in the next one. Peace out.